Here's Charlie. I'm back, continuing our journey through basically the workshop slides at this point. Hope you find this interesting. So we did a big piece on who you are with the personality, how you do things with the culture piece, and the application, which I think is most powerful, which is the proposals. And so, having done who, how, now we're going to do what. We're going to do what matters most. And again, it's going to be a very specialized and potent application of this, namely projects. So I love the world of projects. Most people do. Why so? What's special about them? Well, the ones that I was fortunate enough to be involved with were normally very high tech. Uh, I think basically there's two kinds of projects. There's the ones that are very complex in terms of systems, but not technology. And I would say that's more or less true of the Apollo program and Hubble. Then there are the other projects that actually fascinate most of us more, the ones that are extremely high tech. Probably the biggest stretch was one called Gravity Probe B, which went on for, I think, probably 30 years, trying to develop the technologies to measure a very specific effect of relativity called frame dragging. It's a very sophisticated story, very, very difficult project and worked. Another one interesting is the Cosmic Background Explorer. I talked about that, John Mather's experiment. Again, a cryogenic, cryogenic means a thermos bottle, or probably a thermos bottle with 20 layers and superfluid helium cooling the inside, the optics and whatnot. Very hard stuff. Interesting problems like how do you let the helium outgas into space with all of it running out, and things like that. The solutions of interesting object called the porous plug. And so in my time as director, I launched 12 satellites of various sorts and sizes. And the world of projects is where you get the marriage of management, engineering, and technology. I think it's the most difficult job I know. It's demanding in ways. Anyone that succeeds in project program management has to be very dedicated to it. And it's also, to me, for NASA, and I'm very much still invested in some level with NASA. The thinking is that it's where NASA creates value. I probably annoy people saying things like this, but most of the rest of the agency's overhead, center management's overhead, the NASA headquarters overhead. It's why? Because it's in this limited realm of projects with very, very specific processes and a lot of very dedicated expertise. So the world of projects, I love it. I spent most of my life there in some form or another. So I'm going to apply what matters most to the project world. Now, here's the difficulty with this. If you don't understand project management or are interested in it, you're not going to like this piece. I just stop now and skip over it because it has to do with project management and how to establish what matters most so you can be perceived as successful. So let's proceed into this. Here we go. So again, going up our chart, this is what I'm going to call, that's the culture piece, closing that out. Animated and team mindset. And again, you can read about it in my book. There's a chapter on this if you'd like to get more details. So again, how did I get into this? Well, John Cassani is arguably one of JPL's great project managers, maybe the greatest. I don't know that I judge that necessarily. Super guy, smart, competent, takes on the hard jobs. And one day we were talking, and he looked at a study that my division had funded some years ago, and he went and looked at it in a way I hadn't. He said, I want to explain why some project managers are fired when cost goes from 400 to 410 million. Others get medals for projects that go from 400 to 470 million. I thought that's a very interesting inquiry and something that every project manager understand. And here's how simple it is. Some projects, performance is everything and is driven by stakeholders wanting to maximize benefit. Hubble was this kind of project. The space shuttle was this kind of project. In the end, we had overruns in both cases, and we never backed down on what it was supposed to do. And never cut scope would be the term for this to save money. Never even contemplated it really. In fact, that at certain times we kind of crazily increased scope. Anyway, but here's the point: if it's about the performance, it's everybody's lusting after what's going to finally come out of it. People will let you make it the best it can be, and pay and pay and pay. Complain but pay. The other is cost. Stakeholders wanting to minimize cost. These projects have very definite cost caps when they start. Managers that are effective put in requirements, uh, goals to start with, and floors that they can descope to. And so the point here is that either one is okay as long as you know what the stakeholders are thinking. If the stakeholders are incoherent, if they don't understand this, and you don't take steps as a project manager to remedy this, you don't pay attention to it, you're going to get fired because a confused, the two things can't operate together. The processes within the projects are very, very different. So here's the basic idea of project management. Project managers balance trade, blue performance, orange cost, and orange schedule. Schedule is orange because schedule stretch out always means cost increases. So they got to sort of be managed together within an envelope of risk. That's the job. The blue mindset, performance rules. The cost mindset, the money rules. So in the performance mindset, the performance is in the driver's seat. We're going to meet all the requirements, no question about it. Cost is in the trailer, and schedule is whatever it is, and the risk in such projects is normally managed to be quite low. The performance is so important that the risk is minimized. You spend the money to lower risk. There's a lot of trade there too. The cost mindset, cost is in the driver's seat, schedule's in a vice, and performance is whatever would be acceptable, and normally you're willing to accept higher risk. So this is the simplest thing we're going to talk about. So when I did this with flight project teams, which was a lot of my early workshops, I would explain it just this simply, and then I'd make on a flip chart the name of the team. Maybe it'd be the NASA project, and then I'd put the customer, might be NASA headquarters, or it might be the Congress. We'd talk a little bit about this. And often in the room, I'd have one or two or three of the other contractors. I'd put them down. I asked them to put down their impression of what the project's being driven by. Is it being driven by performance, which means we're going to spend whatever it takes to meet all the stated goals? Or is it driven by cost, where we're going to descope when we have to stay within the cost envelope? So then we collect these, people would write this on their 3x5 card themselves, collect them up, take a break, and put the tallies up on the chart. I've never seen anything create as much angst as this exercise. I had cases where project managers walked out of the room. We had one person lay on the floor pretending he was crucified. I had a project that I was working with, a multi-billion-dollar project, a huge project. And when we did the exercises, it became obvious that the headquarters program office was completely blue. And surprisingly, both the contractors were orange. And the way this showed up was that the program office kept changing requirements, kept managing things that weren't their purview. And I told the group, I said, you're going to be canceled in 18 months. This is not a stable system. So the blue project office didn't want to change. They kept doing what they're doing. And sure enough, it's exactly what happened. So what's fun for me is, the basic idea of physics is that you do experiments, you come up with formulas, rules, whatever. Then you ask yourself, are those reliable enough to predict the future? That's exactly what I'm doing here. Look at this. And from this, I can tell you what you've got to do to change to be successful. And I can tell you with high reliability, I could predict failures over and over and over with the culture thing. I could have probably should have talked more about those then, but if anyone's interested, let me know. I'll make a supplementary video about that. And the same thing here. So this is really simple. This little section is going to end quickly here. I attend to my team project's mindset. This is about their mindset. My mindset, I must manage this mindset for everybody. Negotiate and remedy mismatches with the stakeholders and the team leaders. So what's in your future? You're going to get fired, literally, or you're going to get medals. Card check for the Zoom folks. How we doing? Thank you. And then we'll move into a really fun thing, a process, how to get what you want. And this works. And let's see that next. Be safe and thank you for tuning in. My pleasure to do this for you.